I'm Mary Obana. I help people get unstuck. We are all meant to have full joy, pure love, complete fulfillment, and peace. You know what else? Each of us has a light, a unique gift that we are to find and share with the world. It's why we're here. It's who we're meant to be. But sometimes we can get stuck. Join me as I work with Spirit to help people from all walks of life receive the messages they need to hear so they can understand what's standing in the way of all the joy, fulfillment, love, and peace they are meant to have so they can get on with a life they're meant to live so they can shine. Real people, real stories, starting now. Hey there, it's Mary Obana, and I am so delighted you are here. Welcome to the very first episode of the Shine podcast. I am so excited that this day has arrived, and I am really honored that you have allowed me to share this time with you. You know, I don't know what you're doing, if you're on a walk or if you're in your car or if you're in your house doing something, but regardless, I am just really grateful for the fact that we can be spending this time together. And since this is the first episode of this podcast, I thought I would just give you a little bit of a feel for what you can expect from Shine and what it's all about, and a little bit about who I am, so you kind of have a feel for how I think about these things or where I'm coming from. So let's just dive right in. So to start, I think all of us share this kind of desire, right, to have this super fulfilling, completely amazing, joyful, happy, peaceful life. I heard it once said, and this really stuck with me, that we all want to live the grandest version of the greatest vision of ourselves. I thought that was so awesome. I'm like, ooh, yeah, I like that. But I also know that it's not always that way. And I think if we're really honest with ourselves, we sometimes find a point in our life where we feel like, I don't know if this is what I should be doing, or I wonder if I'm called to do something more, or I feel like this is not the way I should be feeling. So when we get to those points in our life, I think we really have two choices. One, we just keep carrying on as we had been before, and we do all the time, just with all the busyness of our life. Or we kind of pay attention to that voice within us and actually stop and say, you know what? No, I'm going to listen to that voice this time. Maybe I should look into that a little more. And there are these little signs and nudges and feelings we get that kind of keep calling us back to this. And when that happens, I think it's really exciting because it means that we are moving in to the person we are meant to be. Because you see, we are all meant to be completely happy, fulfilled, joyful. That's what we're meant to be, the way we're meant to feel. So when we kind of have and reach that point in our life where we feel that kind of tug, those kind of thoughts kind of inside, or those feelings kind of nudge at us or kind of tug at us, that's, I think, a time for celebration, because it means, okay, here we go. Time for me to live the life that I'm supposed to. And it's time for me. And a lot of us, I think, spend a lot of time on other people and all this kind of stuff. So it's this moment where we are called to our calling. So before we dive in, maybe this is a good point to kind of take a step back and just share a little bit about my background and how this kind of has all unfolded, these questions that I've had and all this work that I'm now doing. So I am from California. I was born and raised in the San Francisco Bay Area. I have a super close-knit family. And after college, I actually went to Stanford in Palo Alto and had an amazing experience there. But I went on to New York City after I graduated. And I worked in some large advertising agencies on some really interesting businesses, and then went on to go work for some companies, large companies like Coca-Cola and Converse, which is now part of Nike, and doing a lot of, product work, strategy work, a lot of marketing, and ultimately ended up for the last 15 years running a company that my husband and I founded in the fitness industry. It's a technology company. And we worked with some just amazing people doing what I believe to be really great work. A lot of people devoted to helping people within their own communities get healthier. So, all throughout that, and probably for the past, maybe 15, 20 years, I've always kind of had this, question deep inside, this question that I actually asked all the time. Every time I prayed, every time, I would think I would basically be asking this question of, what's my purpose? Please help me understand why I'm here, what I'm supposed to be doing. And when this last company, we were doing this great work, I kind of said, okay, this is it. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. But then deep down inside, I kind of had this little nudge, this nudge of no, there's something different I'm supposed to be doing. But to be honest, I wasn't really listening to it. I was so focused on the work we were doing, and I was so committed to the work we were doing. I didn't really, listen. And then as my husband and I it was time for us to get out of that business, we had spent a lot of time just kind of thinking about what's next and what we want to do and what we should be doing. And so all of this kind of started to come to a head again, these questions of purpose and, wondering what I should be doing. And so as I asked these questions, the answer actually surfaced, unfolded in the most unexpected and really extraordinary way. I received the answer to my question from my spirit guide, Peter. That's right, my spirit guide, Peter. I hope you're sitting down for this. Anyways, and the reason why it was so unexpected is because I had never connected with my spirit guide. I had certainly known about this idea of spirit, and frankly, I was incredibly fascinated by it all. These people who could connect and hear messages with great, wisdom coming to them. And I'd always thought it would have been fantastic to get this direct line of communication myself, but certainly had never happened before. There are all these wonderfully gifted mediums and things that can do this, but that certainly wasn't me. I'd been in business for my entire life. I'm this completely down-to-earth, rational person. This is not the world I lived in at all. But I will tell you, it was so extraordinary because the message was so profound and such a blessing. Because in this message that I received, I not only came to understand why it is I'm here, but really why we're all here. And this was incredibly exciting. So this message actually came in the form of a book, which I published in March of 2020 called Shine, A Simple Guide to Finding Your Light and Letting It Shine on the World. It's a short and sweet book, easy to read, but with such a great message. And honestly, this was word for word, straight from Peter right to the page. And it came in a really crazy way. I actually was flying with my husband to Australia in January for a trip that we had been really looking forward to. We were heading to Tasmania, and on the flight, I was journaling because I was participating at the time in a 21-day manifesting challenge. It was a challenge that was put on by Gabrielle Bernstein. I don't know if you know Gabby Bernstein, but she is a New York Times bestselling author and really a spiritual teacher. She has kind of introduced people to the power of the universe and the connection that you can have and how it can help you kind of come into your own. And that's kind of exactly what happened with me. So I was sitting on this plane, I was pulling out my journal, and that day the assignment was connect to your spirit guide. I'm like, okay, cool, that sounds interesting. And so I hit my pen to the paper, and suddenly this entire dialogue, or monologue, I should say, entered into my head. And so it kind of sounded like a thought, as you would have a thought come to your head. It was like that. But it was a, 1,500 word message. It was beautiful. It was all about who he was. Peter comes from total consciousness, how he has been a part of my life always, but that this moment was one where he could work with me and deliver the message that I needed to hear. And he told me in that first meeting, really, connection with him, that I would write a book and that he would help me and that it would happen much like this communication was happening at that moment. And lo and behold, on the 18th of January, it happened. I opened my computer. Again, I was on vacation. I had, we decided to take a chill day because we had been hiking and doing things like that. So we thought we'd chill out, do a lot of reading, writing. And what would come were basically word for word, chapter for chapter, literally verbatim, this book. And it, I felt like a miracle in many ways. And honestly, I just wrote as fast as I could. That's all I did. Didn't even have time to think about it. I just dictated. Really, it was like take a dictation. And that's exactly what I did. And I'm going to, in a different podcast, actually, in fact, maybe the next podcast, I'll kind of go through the real messages of Shine. But for the purposes of this kind of introductory episode of this podcast, I guess I'd share that this book has been read by a lot of people, and I've had the opportunity to connect with many of the readers, and it's been really interesting because people have shared their stories of the impact it's had on them. They've opened this book, and I've always believed that things kind of happen when they're supposed to. So, if this is something that's resonating with you, like, that sounds interesting. I feel like that's something calling you to it, then maybe this is the right time for it for you. If you're hearing this and you're kind of like, oh, it's kind of interesting, but not really something that's kind of striking a chord, then it's not your time for that. But this book, for people who have read it, there's been actually one of two responses. One is, oh my gosh, like a light bulb went off. I get it. This thing that I have within me that I honestly kind of have been discounting, turns out it's something super special. And I know that when I'm sharing this thing within me that's super special, it feels great. I love it. It brings me joy, and it brings other people joy when I do it. So again, I'm going to talk more about that, and I guess I'll do it in the next episode. So one group of people kind of had this immediate kind of awakening, if you will. And then this other group read it and said, wow, this is so powerful. But they've felt a little stuck, like got a message from it, but they're like, oh, how do I don't know. I feel like I can't quite get there. And this is kind of the second part of the work that I'm doing, is aside from receiving this beautiful message and getting it out to the world through this book, I have also been asking for these folks that have read this book and feel like they are a little stuck. Is there something I can do to help them get unstuck? And what I've received messages is that, yes, I can. I can help them. And this is the way I can help them. And this is the way I have been helping people in this way. So all of us have spirit guides, right? These spirit guides are with us all the time, and they know every single thing about us. They know our every desire, hope. They know every one of our experiences. They know all of the hurt that we've had, the fear, the angst, all those things that we have felt and known deep inside, many things that we've never even uttered out loud or maybe even admitted fully to ourselves. They know everything. So they also know what's holding us back. And what I've been able to do, I'm so excited, is I've been able to connect to these people's spirit guides, not mine, but theirs, to deliver to them the messages they need to hear to emerge fully into their fullest selves. So all of us have this kind of being, right? This place we're supposed to be, as I said before, with all this joy and fulfillment and peace and happiness, all this great stuff. We're supposed to live like that. That's what we are supposed to do, but we're blocked often. And this process is all about getting people unblocked so they can get around those walls, kind of understand what's going on, so they can live the life they're meant to live. It has been so awesome. In fact, I just did a reading just before this recording, and so awesome. I mean, people often brought to tears, or people just like, oh my God, like the light, like what? I get it now. I understand. I love one person said, oh my gosh, you just saved me millions of therapy sessions. This is perfect. This is exactly what I need to know. And the thing about these readings and the thing about your guides, which I love, these are incredibly focused readings. So I've had readings before in the past, and they kind of, are all over the place. Some are messages from people who've passed or other beautiful, loving things that I need to hear. But these sessions are all about and super focused about what it is you need to understand and know to emerge fully into the joyful, completely fulfilling, peaceful life that you are meant to have, that you are meant to live, the life you're meant to live. What is standing in your way? And so these messages have been incredibly focused, actionable, understandable, not kind of other peripheral or other messages that are not all about that which you must hear. And it's always all about you. So sometimes people receive messages and readings of other things, but this is 100% all about you. So anyways, so back to this podcast. So this podcast is all about sharing the stories of real people as they've emerged and discovered exactly where it is they need to be, and identify the things that have been holding them back, or just recognizing the beautiful thing within them that they finally have appreciated, remembered, now can celebrate. And that's what this is all about, because there's in this a message of great hope, I think, that all these people who are all these different stages of their life and have all different experiences can come to a moment where they're ready. They're ready to live their incredibly beautiful life. They get to that life that they've always wanted. And this, again, doesn't mean that they live in unhappiness at all. Most of these people, in fact, all these people have lived these beautiful lives, right? But it's just now kind of that last thing, that bridge to that lightness, to being in that space of lightness, of just feeling like, yes, this is exactly what it is I need to be feeling, exactly what it is I need to be knowing, exactly what it is I need to be doing. It's just that sense of knowing, which is beautiful. So that's what this is all about. This is what Shine is about, because in the end, this is all about all of us finding that special thing within us that we can share with the world, because only we can, and the world needs it from each of us. And everyone is amazing, and everyone's so beautiful, and just to accept and know and find that and remember that within yourself, that's what this is all about, because this is all about you shining, finding your shine. So that's it, really. I hope that, this is something that is intriguing or interesting to you, I'm going to, in my next episode, going to be talking specifically about the message of Shine and what Peter has shared and how all of this works. And then after that, I'm going to bring in some folks who have had, the benefit of some of these readings, so you can kind of see what they've experienced and how they've kind of gotten to the other side. And that's awesome. So we're just going to kind of go with the flow here. It's going to be organic. It's going to kind of find its own way, I think. But I hope this has been something that's been interesting to you. I hope that you have, I don't know, I always want that every time we're together, you to feel uplifted, feel good. There's so much stuff going on in the world, just a place where you can come and just feel good, good message, because it is all good, right? And this is all about getting you to, again, that thing which I heard and I loved and I'll share again. We want to live that grandest version of the greatest vision of ourselves, right? And that's what this is all about. And we can. That's a piece of great news of all. We can. We are on our way, right? So if you have enjoyed this podcast, I hope that you subscribe on the link below to it, so you can know when other episodes are out and available for you. And also, if you want to rate it, and also leave some comments, right? I want some feedback, it's whatever it is. I want to kind of understand what it is you're getting out of it. Is it something that's helpful? So I can get that feedback, so I can also evolve this to be everything that you need it to be most helpful for you. So anyways, that's it. I'm Mary Obana. Thank you so much for joining this very first introductory episode of Shine the Podcast. And I'm looking forward to seeing you the next time. Take it easy.